Hi guys, we have a whole bunch of things lined up today. The ambassadorial list that President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has put together. The three names that kind of stick out to me is the former INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, Reno Omokri, and the former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani Kayode. So those three are a bit interesting. And there are a couple of other names there that looks like they switched alignments or like a reward for a lot of the Southeastern former governors. So I've seen some of that. And then President Tinubu also issued a state of emergency as a result of insecurity going on in the country. DSS summoned the former presidential, vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Datti Baba Ahmed. So we have that, Senator Datti Baba Ahmed. That is quite interesting as well. And Burnaboy, that's a little twist. Burnaboy's alleged fall from grace. If he's able to humble himself, will he get back to where he was or not? Come on and join me next at Efua Speaks. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has cancelled his G20 trip because of the state of emergency in the nation, because of the insecurity happening in Nigeria. This is showing that he understands the pulse of the citizens, saying that they don't feel safe because of insecurity. Only God knows what's going to happen to folks who are trying to travel home for Christmas. All these kidnappings that are happening in Kwara, Kebbi, Niger, Kogi, Plateau. This is happening. So, based on the insecurity and the state of emergency, they have recalled all the police officers that are on duty with the VIP people, in terms of guard duty. It was over 11,000 officers that were on guard duty for VIPs. So those were recalled, and an extra 50,000 members of the force are actually going to be recruited. Then they are trying to revamp their training facilities, inclusive of the NYSC campgrounds. So that's a welcome development. In addition to that, sending boots on the ground from DSS to fish out all those bandits and people who are causing unrest in the nation. Okay? Then, doing all that, it lets us know that we have a president that cares. So far, what the president has said is that a lot of them have been rescued. The 315 Christians have been rescued. The 25 students were rescued from Kebbi State. And the 38 worshippers in Kwara have been rescued. The 24 schoolgirls have been rescued. That is what the president is saying. The question that I want to ask, and those of you who are in the audience that are watching, what is going on in terms of the perpetrators of these crimes? Are they being arrested, or are they being negotiated with and being paid to do this? This is something that we need to answer, because if they feel that they can continue to collect money from the government as a reward for kidnapping, they're gonna keep doing it. Who don't like better thing? Who don't like better thing? I mean, they're getting paid, aren't they? So if that is not the case, you need to let us know that the perpetrators have been arrested, tried, convicted, and sentenced. That's what we need to know. So we have a list of ambassadors that are going to the Senate for confirmation. So we have a split of a list. We have career ambassadors, we have non-career ambassadors. Okay, the career ambassadors are people who work for the foreign affairs department of the Nigerian state. So being an ambassador is part of a career trajectory. I was invited one time by the Ethiopian ambassador. She was leaving her post in Nigeria. So she was the Ethiopian ambassador to Nigeria. and we got there early, so we're able to like look at a lot of foreign service workers just talk about their tours going into different countries and their journeys from different countries across Africa, and even some from the West, like the UK ambassador and others that really respected her work in Nigeria. So, there are career ambassadors that do the following: they oversee the country's activities, in the foreign land. They represent our nation, and then they promote our foreign policy interests, okay? And they are stationed in the embassy that they are being posted. So if they are posted in the UAE, or they are posted in Qatar, or in different countries. And being an ambassador is part of a career trajectory in the foreign affairs department in Nigeria. So a career ambassador is one that being an ambassador is part of their career trajectory. A non-career ambassador are people who are politically appointed by the president. So their tenure depends on the tenure of the president. Okay? And their tenure can be between 2 and 6 years. Okay? Now the career ambassador, it's not, yes, they can be appointed by the president or by their department, and it depends on their career trajectory in terms of how long they are there. They could be, if the foreign affairs department needs them for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, they stay because it's part of their career in the foreign affairs department of the country. Okay, so the non-career ambassadors are just political appointees, by the president. And to be very honest with you, it's politics, so it depends on the president can reward you for your loyalty and for your donation to him politically. It's not just Nigeria they do this, they also do this abroad. Like, President Donald Trump, when he's putting together his cabinet, he can put together people who are well experienced, and some of them are just political appointments of his loyalists. So it varies. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has presented a list of names. I'm just going to go over a few of them. I'm not going to go over everyone, but the ones that really stick out to me is the former INEC Chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, Reno Omokri, and the former Minister of Aviation, FFK, Femi Fani Kayode. Now, I'm just going to tell you a story about FFK. I actually interviewed him a couple of years ago during, I think it was Buhari's tenure. And he said a lot of things about President Muhammadu Buhari, how evil he is, how horrible he is, how horrible APC is, and how he was, he was imprisoned a couple of times, so he was, spewing a lot of venom about APC at the time. But when President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was coming on the scene and was politicking, he changed his tune. All of a sudden, APC is not bad. APC is all of a sudden good. So, I don't know about FFK, but that is what I have seen from FFK. And so maybe this is a reward for all the role he played during the election, the venom he was spewing on Twitter. I was there. I was watching. Okay, so it's just interesting to watch. Then you have Reno Omokri. Reno Omokri was a PDP loyalist. Okay, he was an assistant to Atiku Abubakar, and he was backing Atiku Abubakar. And he was talking about how Tinubu is a criminal, and how Tinubu did not go to Chicago State University, how he went to Chicago State University to investigate President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He also went further into saying that Tinubu, is a criminal, is a drug pusher. And he, that his hashtag table shaker. Then all of a sudden, his tone began to change. Tinubu is the best president ever. There is no attack against Christians. And then framing the delegation that he brought with him. So many things he did, because before he was in exile in the UK. Now he's back in Nigeria, enjoying the spoils of, changing his loyalties to APC. Now he's, going to be getting an ambassadorial appointment. His name has been put out. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the former INEC chairman. There's been a lot of stories about the election in 2023. Is it what people are saying in terms of the election being handed over, and in terms of why the results were not uploaded into IREV so that the collation can be public? What was that glitch that happened during the 2023 election? What happened that President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was declared winner in the middle of the night? So what was all that was going on? Is this a reward for all that or not? So I'm just, I'm not saying nothing. I'm just share observation. So those are the three that I have a bit of a question mark with. A couple of others, you have, the former governor of Abia State, Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu. He was a PDP governor. Then the former governor of Enugu State, Mr. Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, you have him. Then you have who else? Then you have Barrister Ogbonnaya Kalu. You have her, who is Oji Uzo Kalu, the former governor of Abia State, who is the current senator of Abia State, in one of the Abia State constituencies. His daughter is now being put as one of the people who will possibly become an ambassador. So these are a couple of names that I'm seeing, because Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi was a PDP governor, and when I saw our current governor, Governor Mba, decamp to APC, I looked in the crowd and I did see the former governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi in a in one of the Tinubu caps, APC caps. So I said, okay, so he also has decamped, and now he's possibly going to be an ambassador of the Federal Republic, representing the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So those are the people. The list that President Tinubu sent spans across representatives from all 6 geopolitical zones. So initially, the 3 that he sent, that he said, look, let me quickly fill, had 1 northerner and 2 people from the southwest. People began to complain and say, hey, is it only Yorubas and Hausas? And then he now sent in the rest of the list to show that it's across the board. People from PDP are saying that he needs to turn in back the list, that list is not good. But, let's see what happens moving forward. The current ousted president of Guinea Bissau, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, has been deposed to the Republic of Congo at the moment, and the new sworn-in military head of state is General Horta Intataman. So he has started to rule the Guinea-Bissau, and from what I've heard, Guinea-Bissau has been ousted from the African Union for this, because the African Union is a firm believer of democracy. So we have to look at these things like this. Does democracy work in Africa? Is democracy enticing to the people of Africa to say, oh, this is a system of government that works for the people? A government of the people, by the people, for the people. You have to understand that the bedrock of democracy, America, is over 200 years old. So they've been able to teeth it for the past over 2 centuries. You have to understand that a black person like me
is 1/5 of a person at one point in the United States. So it needed time to be able to tweak and be customized to a system that works for the American people. In Africa, it is of my opinion that we need to work on a system of government that works for us, because we did have a system before we were colonized by the British, by the Portuguese, by the Dutch, by the Americans, by the people of Belgium, and so many other countries. How, the Berlin Conference, we were just split up like a sandwich. So we have to understand to look at what works for us. I listened to a conversation, on the RT channel on YouTube with David Hundain, a Libyan former minister, and Samson Itodo discuss what the future is for Africa in terms of what systems of government work for us. Samson Itodo is of the opinion that democracy still works, but the political elite need to be put in check. My question is, by who? Are we allowed to protest? Do they hear us? Can corruption be curbed? Has civil society been successful in doing that? And civil society comes from the people. So if our people are not educated enough, then it's virtually impossible. I'm not saying democracy is not a good system. It's just a system that needs to be tweaked, and the separation of powers needs to be emphasized, enough to make sure that people feel like they have hope. David Hundain is of the opinion that democracy is sponsored by the West, and it is another invisible hand of control of the African countries and countries of the global South. That is what David Hundain is saying. And he's saying that the military, it may be people's only option, based on what we have available to us as Africans. My own issue with that is this: not every military dictator is a Pan-Africanist. Not every military dictator is looking for sovereignty. They have their own interests. For example, the military ruler of Gabon, the military ruler of Guinea Bissau right now, and the military ruler of those other countries. We don't know what their interests are. Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, they are an exception. They may not be the rule, So I don't know whether the military is a safe option. I know, David, you spoke about the Chinese system of government, in terms of the communism, that people may not agree with the system of government, obviously, but it does not negate the results. That may or may not work for Africans. We have to do something that works for us. And Guinea-Bissau, I have a feeling, is not going to be the last democracy that might be toppled, because it's not showing something that's favorable to us. Look at Uganda. How many years, has Museveni been there? What about Paul Biya in Cameroon? You could talk about so many other presidents that are just there. They don't want to leave. So we need to do something that works for us Africans. Or if we want to do the democracy, how about we tweak it? And how about there be a system that the people have to hold our leaders accountable without a fear of backlash? So that's my take. Goodluck Johnathan said we need to continue to fight for democracy, because the worst democracy is better than the best dictatorship. That's what he's saying. He's saying that even if only 5 countries that are members of ECOWAS that are democratic, that we should keep the flag going. That's what Goodluck Johnathan is saying. What do you guys think? Let's hear it in the comments. So that's my take. Goodluck Jonathan said we need to continue to fight for democracy, because the worst democracy is better than the best dictatorship. That's what he's saying. He's saying that even if only 5 countries that are members of ECOWAS that are democratic, that we should keep the flag going. That's what Goodluck Ebele Jonathan is saying. What do you guys think? Let's hear it in the comments. So the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Datti Baba Ahmed, was being interviewed on Arise Television, his latest interview, and he spoke a lot about what the current administration is doing to tackle insecurity and everything, and just saying that it was the military and the judiciary's fault that Tinubu was sworn in as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And because of that swearing in, the military are looking at civilians and saying bloody fools. So what the DSS is saying is that they are, summoning him to clarify his comments, saying that you don't want to make those kind of comments to incite the public, especially since after the coup in Guinea-Bissau, and just really agitating citizens of the state, giving the veracity of the climate of the state because of the insecurity and things that have happened. We are in a state of emergency. So they just want him to clarify some things. That is what DSS is saying, according to Punch. They're saying, hey, that this is not a confrontation or an arrest or anything like that. We just want to clarify some things from you, so that you don't agitate the public because of that interview. So they are summoning him. I guess we'll find out what has been said and take it from there. The African giant, the Odogu of Afrobeats, at least that's what he calls himself, and that's what his fans call him. Burnaboy had a fall from grace because of what he did in Colorado by sending a fan home because she was sleeping during his concert. They said he was about 5 hours late for that concert. And come to find out that the lady was grieving her child's father's passing. That was why she came to the concert, for Burnaboy to cheer her up. I guess Burnaboy was taking too long, so she fell asleep. And he called her out and he sent her away. Now, Burnaboy better pray that that lady do not sue. She will sue the production company. She will sue Burnaboy. She will sue the event promoter. She will sue everything and the kitchen sink. So Burnaboy, you've gotten away with this for quite a long time. Really bad mouthing your fans in Nigeria, kicking people and cussing people out and whatever. And then your apology. I'm sorry if I did something wrong. Now, when it started to hit them pockets, I said, oh, I'm sorry. Even the coffee that I brought out didn't sell, you know, and, saying things like, if I don't perform anymore, me and my family would be straight. I mean, that is not how you kill your legacy, with your own mouth. And there is a saying, because when I saw your tweet, you said the only person greater than me is Fela. When I heard that, I said, this guy about to fall hard. It was just subconsciously, I just said it. I said, he about to fall hard because he thinks too highly of himself. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't think highly of yourself. You're talented. You are a hard worker. You've really busted hard to get where you are today, and it's commendable. But the pride, the arrogance, the haughtiness. When a proud person starts to get haughty, the fall is imminent. So that's exactly what happened to Burnaboy. The fall is imminent. When pride begins to cross over to haughtiness, the fall is imminent. I hope he recovers from this because, God has mercy on us all. But if he continues to justify his actions, we're just going to say there was a man called Burnaboy. Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast, Efua Speaks, just talking about my take on current events. I'm not going to be a trending topics chaser. I'm just going to talk about my perspective. Some trending topics, I'm like, nah, not worth my time. I don't know if it's worth my audience this time, but if there's a topic you want me to talk about, just send me a message or send me an email at efwaspeaks@gmail.com. That is efwaspeaks@gmail.com. Send me, a message on some of the topics you want me to cover, or if you want me to do a take on a topic, that's fine. But, otherwise, I'll just, give my opinion on certain topics, and then we can just discuss them together in the comments and just have a good old time. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.